The cop thought he could humiliate a black man in uniform without consequences, until the general made one call that brought the Pentagon to his doorstep. It was supposed to be a quick stop. General Carlton DeHaze had driven this stretch of Highway 280 between Albany and Americus dozens of times. He knew the curves, the long stretches of trees, and the occasional small-town gas station with a single dusty pump. But today his GPS had gone haywire after a recent update. Spotting a gravel pull-off just past a faded green sign reading Ellaville FM, he slowed and stopped. Tapping his military-grade encrypted phone, he thought 2 minutes would be enough. But the crunch of gravel behind him made him glance up. In the rearview mirror, cop car lights were spinning, though no siren had sounded. A beat-up cruiser marked Lee County Sheriff pulled up. The driver's door opened. A tall woman with blonde hair and a tight bun and aviator sunglasses stepped out, hand on her holstered sidearm. She didn't approach slowly with a cautious, "Good afternoon." She marched to the driver's side, tapping the window. Tap, tap, tap. Carlton lowered it halfway. "Afternoon, officer." "What are you doing out here?" he asked calmly. She snapped, "Pulled over to check my GPS." She looked past him into the car. "Where are you headed?" He saw her name tag, Wilburn. Her voice wasn't curious. It was controlling. "Just correcting my route," he said evenly. Wilburn stepped back slightly, unclipping her holster. "Step out. You're on private land. This is a known area for illegal dumping. You fit the profile." "The profile?" he asked, but she said nothing. She just put her hand fully on the gun. Carlton exhaled slowly and opened the door. He was used to being stared down in Iraq, Bosnia, even in Washington, D.C., but this wasn't protocol. "I'll step out," he said. "I've done nothing wrong. I've followed everything you said." Wilburn led him to the rear of his car. No backup, no visible body cam. Her radio crackled, but she ignored it. "Hands on the trunk," she ordered. "Ma'am, I'm a federal officer," he said. "My ID is in the vehicle. Please let me get it." She grabbed his arm and turned him forcefully. His palm slapped the metal, legs kicked apart. He didn't resist. "You're making a mistake," he said softly. But she didn't listen. From the road, a pickup slowed. A woman in the passenger seat rolled down her window just enough to hold up her phone. A teenager in the back was already filming. No one intervened. They watched, sensing something off. The man didn't flinch. The officer seemed more eager to assert power than ask questions. Wilburn was breathing hard from adrenaline. She didn't know who she was dealing with yet. But that was about to change. "I'm not repeating myself," Wilburn barked, hand near her gun. "You're being detained." Carlton kept his hands on the trunk, calm. "I respectfully request you call your supervisor, or let me retrieve my ID." "You don't make requests right now," she snapped. From the corner of his eye, Carlton saw the teenager still filming. The boy's father stood silently, arms crossed. Tension hung in the humid air. "I'm not resisting," Carlton said, slower this time. "But I need to identify myself. I'm Lieutenant General Carlton Hayes. My ID is in my briefcase inside the car." Wilburn scoffed. "You expect me to believe that?" "You don't have to believe it. Just check," he said. But she didn't. She moved to the side, radioing in. "Suspicious male, possibly armed," she said, making Carlton glance slightly. "I'm not carrying a weapon," he said. Wilburn glared. "You're military, right?" "You people usually are." Carlton blinked slowly. "You people?" She ignored him, focusing on the radio, calling for backup. Carlton didn't interrupt. His years of training taught him the fastest way to diffuse arrogance was to let it collapse on its own. He glanced past her toward the truck. The man inside now had his arms resting on the window frame, expression hardened. The bystanders shifted from curious to uncomfortable. "You're escalating something that doesn't need to be," Carlton said gently. "You don't tell me how to do my job." "I'm asking you to do it by the book," she said, stepping closer. "Are you threatening me?" She snapped. "No, ma'am. I'm advising you," he said. Wilburn's lips curled briefly. Then she yanked his wallet from his back pocket, flipping through it quickly. Then she froze. Behind a department ID was a Pentagon-issued Level 4 security clearance card. "Where'd you get this?" She muttered. "I earned it over 30 years of service," he said. She closed the wallet and stepped back, not far enough to admit she was wrong. "You could have said that in the first place," she muttered. Flushing, still looking for a reason to hold her ground. "I wasn't parked. I was pulled over adjusting my route, he said. She turned, glancing at her cruiser. Carlton could see her weighing how this looked and what the footage might show. You'll need to wait here for the deputy, Wilburn said. Fine, but once he arrives, I want to make a phone call. Calling your lawyer? She asked, skeptical. No, Carlton replied. I'm calling the Department of Defense. She stared, waiting for a joke. There wasn't one. In the distance, a faint siren started, another unit finally responding, but it would be at least 10 minutes. And in those 10 minutes, everything was about to change. Too many people were already watching. The sirens grew louder, bouncing off the trees, but Wilburn wasn't waiting. Her control was slipping. Carlton could see it in the way she paced, glanced at the growing crowd, and checked over her shoulder. 3 cars were pulled over now, everyone filming. She wasn't thinking like a cop anymore. She was reacting like someone cornered. Turn around, she ordered. I've already identified myself. You're interfering with a lawful investigation, Carlton said. I'm not interfering. I'm unarmed and cooperating, he added. She grabbed his wrist and twisted. You're resisting. He clenched his jaw but didn't fight. This isn't necessary, he said. It didn't matter. She pulled his arm behind his back and slammed on the cuffs. Metal dug into his wrists. Gasps echoed from the roadside. The teenager moved closer, whispering to his father, who raised his own phone to film. Everything's being recorded, Carlton said calmly. You think that matters? Wilburn hissed. It always does, he replied. She pushed him toward the cruiser. The gravel shifted, but he didn't stumble. She shoved him into the back without a word. No Miranda rights, no explanation. You're going to regret this, a man's voice said, from the truck. He hadn't moved, but his tone was steady. Mind your business, sir. Wilburn snapped. This is my business now, he said. She slammed the cruiser door, stormed to the front, and fumbled with her radio. Her voice shook. Carlton sat in the back, cuffed, breathing slowly. He counted, 1, 2, 3, slow and steady. She was unraveling, panicked, still describing him to responding units. She hadn't checked his credentials fully, hadn't verified the Pentagon contact, hadn't noticed the small seal on the jacket in the back seat. The teenager zoomed in on the jacket with his phone. It says U.S. Army, he whispered. You got that? His dad asked. The badge, the stars. Everything, the boy said. Another siren joined the first. 2 more cruisers arrived. Deputy Lamar Boyd stepped out. Tall, heavy, salt and pepper beard. He didn't rush or draw a weapon. He walked to Wilburn, who met him with arms crossed. Carlton couldn't hear them, but Boyd's calm presence seemed to steady her. Boyd approached Carlton slowly, opening the back door. Sir, I need your name. Lieutenant General Carlton Hayes, United States Army, he said. Did she see your ID? She had it, Carlton replied. Boyd nodded, shut the door, and spoke quietly with Wilburn. A few seconds later, he returned. Sir, anyone you'd like to call? Yes, one person, Carlton said. Boyd handed him his phone. Carlton held it awkwardly with cuffed hands. He knew the number by heart. One of only 3 in the Department of Defense he ever called directly. It was a direct line to someone who had cleared his missions across 4 continents. The phone rang once, twice. Major Kendall speaking. This is General Carlton Hayes. I'm being unlawfully detained in Schley County, Georgia. I'm in the back of a cruiser. I need verification immediately. A pause. General Hayes, are you secure? I need them to verify my credentials. Bystanders are recording. The officer failed protocol. This may escalate. Understood. Stay on the line. Alerting the Pentagon liaison to DHS and military police. Click. A new voice. Commander Reeves. We're tracking your coordinates. Your plate and registration are pulled. Local authorities will be contacted within 10 minutes. Carlton exhaled. Thank you, sir. He ended the call, handed the phone back to Boyd, who walked away to make a call of his own. Carlton leaned back, watching. Wilburn hadn't moved closer. Her expression was rigid, eyes darting between phones and the man sitting quietly in the back. 5 minutes later, new tires crunched on gravel. These weren't cruisers. 3 black SUVs, unmarked, federal. Windows darker than legal. The black SUVs moved like they had the right of way. One stopped just ahead of the police line, the second behind Wilburn's cruiser. Doors opened in sequence. 2 men in dark suits stepped out, earpieces barely visible. Another in full army dress uniform emerged from the lead vehicle. That was Colonel Errol Gaines, a name well known in military circles. Probably unfamiliar to Wilburn. He walked straight past Boyd, past Wilburn, and opened the back door. "Sir Gaines," Carlton said. "Calm but tight, you all right?" Gaines asked. "Fine, just bruised pride." "We've got it from here." Gaines turned to Boyd. "Who's in charge here?" Boyd raised a hand, looking unhappy. "I've been here 10 minutes. That officer," he motioned to Wilburn, "initiated the stop." Gaines approached Wilburn. "Do you know who that man is?" She squared her shoulders. "He didn't provide proper ID until you put him in cuffs." "He refused to comply?" "Yes." "He gave you his name, his title, and you held his federal ID. That's a 3-star general you locked in a car." Wilburn tried to speak, but her voice caught. Gaines added, "Don't say another word. This is being reported to your department, the sheriff, and the state attorney general." She said nothing. Deputy Boyd stepped aside and called for the county sheriff on his radio. Carlton stepped out of the cruiser. His wrists were red, skin slightly torn, but he didn't complain. Bystanders edged closer, silent and unsure what would happen next. "Sir?" Gaines asked. "Do you want to press charges?" Carlton looked at Wilburn, then the crowd. Phones were still rolling. "Not yet. I want her held accountable through proper channels. Let the public see it. Some lessons don't need shouting. They just need to be seen." The crowd had grown. Word spread quickly. Videos were already circulating online before sunset. Wilburn stood near her cruiser, arms crossed tightly. Her show of power had collapsed. The badge on her chest no longer carried authority. Sheriff Roger Nix arrived 10 minutes later. His truck rolled up slowly, dust trailing behind, lights off. Tall, broad-shouldered, late 60s with a limp, he watched silently. When he stepped out, silence fell. "Someone tell me what's going on," he asked, calm but commanding. Colonel Gaines spoke. "Sheriff Nix, I'm Colonel Errol Gaines. One of your officers unlawfully detained a general." Nix looked from Gaines to Carlton to Wilburn. "That true?" "She refused to comply," Wilburn said. "She ran his tags?" "No, I didn't think it was real. This man could have dismissed you with one call. And he hasn't. That should tell you something." Wilburn flushed, but said nothing. Sheriff Nix extended a hand to Carlton. "General Hayes, apologies for what happened on my highway." "I don't have strong enough words." Carlton shook it firmly. "No grudge. But this is about what she did when she thought no one important was watching." Nix looked at the crowd. "Well, plenty of folks saw. I expect more will." Colonel Gaines nodded. "We'll file a formal complaint through DOJ channels. Her conduct was reckless and illegal." Wilburn tried to speak but saw the cameras pointed at her. She stayed silent. "Tracy," Nix said, "you're on immediate administrative leave. Hand over your badge and firearm." She moved slowly, handing them over. Nix didn't look at her, just faced the crowd. "We'll let investigators handle this. But let me be clear, this isn't how we treat people in my county. No one deserves what I saw in those videos." The teenager from earlier stepped forward, phone in hand. "Sir, want me to send a copy?" Nix smiled faintly. "End it. Thank you for filming." Carlton turned to his car. The jacket sat in the back seat. He put it on, adjusted the collar. The stars on his shoulders glinted in the fading light. Wilburn walked to her cruiser, but she wasn't leaving. Deputy Boyd took the keys. This was no longer a traffic stop. It had become a statement. By the next morning, footage had gone national. A 30-second clip uploaded by Miles Reardon became a 2-minute video, viewed over 2 million times in less than 12 hours. Hashtags: Jarred General Hayes, Schley County, profiling on camera. News vans lined Highway 280. Satellites pointed to the sky like a crime scene, though no crime had occurred. General Hayes had left quietly the night before. No public statements, no interviews, just a short call to his wife and a long, quiet drive to Fort Benning. He never raised his voice, and that, in its own way, made the story louder. The sheriff's office released a brief statement. "We are aware of the incident involving Officer Tracy Wilburn and an unidentified motorist. The matter is under internal investigation." What most people didn't realize was that the motorist had more command experience than the entire department combined. By the second day, protests appeared outside the sheriff's office. Not massive crowds, but enough to shake windows and make every local news station in Georgia. Veterans held photos: Hayes in uniform, Hayes in the field, Hayes receiving a medal from the president, the weight of it pressed on everyone tied to the county. Reporters discovered Wilburn's history, 3 formal complaints in 2 years, all quietly dismissed. 2 involved black drivers. 1 involved a single mother who claimed Wilburn followed her home and gave her a ticket for improper attitude. All of it resurfaced. Wilburn stayed silent. Her lawyer issued a standard statement. My client acted according to her training and followed all procedures. But no training justified what the public had seen. No procedure explained cuffing a man after he showed federal ID. General Hayes kept a low profile. No interviews, no posts. His only public comment came 3 days later at a small veterans forum in Columbus, Georgia. It wasn't meant to be covered, but someone recorded it. At a wooden podium in a church hall, hands folded, he said, "I've faced hostility abroad. I've worked under administrations that didn't want me in the room. But I've never felt smaller than I did on that Georgia roadside. But I won't carry anger. This country needs accountability and honesty. We can't fix what we pretend doesn't exist." The audience stood in quiet acknowledgement. No applause, just silence. 2 days later, Sheriff Roger Nix announced the investigation had ended. Tracy Wilburn was terminated for excessive force, failure to follow protocol, and misuse of authority. Behind closed doors, Nix told staff, she got caught doing what we all knew she'd been doing. That's what should shame us. Her termination didn't end the conversation. Schools discussed respect and power. Local papers ran editorials on racism and blind obedience. The Reardon family, who filmed the incident, were invited to Washington for recognition. Carlton Hayes returned to Fort Benning and resumed his duties. When addressing new cadets, he told them, "You wear this uniform with honor. Some people will still see what they want. Don't let that stop you. Justice isn't always loud. It's steady, and it never forgets." 3 weeks later, the story hadn't faded. It came up in classrooms, barbershops, and churches. People weren't just asking what happened. They were asking why it happens. Why a man who served 30 years, commanded thousands, could still be seen as a threat. Hayes never played the victim. He believed in transparency, dignity, and leading by presence. He declined major interviews but spoke at a leadership conference in Tallahassee to teachers, first responders, and students. "I want to talk about restraint," he said. Not silence, not passivity. Real restraint. When you're wronged, everything in you wants to hit back. Power isn't measured by how hard you hit. It's measured by how much you choose not to. You can't control how people see you, but you can control your response. That's where real power lives. A young EMT asked, "How did you stay calm?" He smiled. "Because my life wasn't in that moment. It was in everything that came before it." That woman didn't know my story, but I did. Later, asked if he was angry, he said, "Yes, but I don't carry it." Anger weighs you down. Used right, it makes you sharper. It helps you speak when it matters. In Schley County, things changed. New training focused on perception as well as policy. Deputies received implicit bias training. Independent consultants helped guide reforms. Community panels formed. Difficult but necessary conversations began. Wilburn disappeared from headlines, moving 2 counties over. She worked in private security, no badge, no gun. The Reardons returned to normal life. Miles, the teenager with the camera, started a YouTube channel interviewing veterans, teachers, and neighbors about integrity and justice. His first video, I didn't know who he was, but I knew what was wrong, got 500,000 views in a week. Carlton watched quietly. When the video ended, he stepped outside. The air was cool. The sunset lingered. He didn't feel proud or vindicated. He felt certain. Staying calm had made the difference. It wasn't his rank that exposed injustice. It was how he carried himself while disrespected. Not speeches or press conferences, but restraint, decency, and truth. Filmed on a phone, shared by strangers, it forced a small corner of the world to see itself differently. Sometimes, the greatest protest is standing still while everyone else is watching. If this story moved you or made you think, share it. Speak up, record it. Say something when something feels wrong. And if you want more stories like this, subscribe.